Hey YouTube! So, last week, the week before, I did my entire Gibson collection and followed by my entire Epiphone collection. So this week it's my entire Fender collection. Wasn't really till I decided I would do it for just like excuse to do a video, really. Kinda got the same sort of thing going on. The Gibsons, I didn't realise it was like, I basically got an EBO and a Gibson SG. And in the Epiphones I've got an EBO and an Epiphone SG. So they're kind of, like basically an EBO and an SG from both. Also being a short scale bass and a guitar of both. So move on to Fender, and I've got a short scale bass and a guitar. I kind of left this to just now so I could be honest. I did have a Fender Teleacoustic guitar, which was a Fender. It was made in China, but it was still a genuine Fender, which I just posted yesterday. So it's gone. So now I'm down to just having two Fenders. I've got lots of copies and stuff, they don't really count. So this is my musicmaser bass. I made the America one. The serial number's S8. That makes it 78, so it's the same age as me. That's 1978, not 78 years old. Not that old. So musicmaser, as far as I can tell, it was a sort of student model. You can actually see it's kind of green. As opposed to it's black, but at certain light angles, it's when you see it next to the black scratch plate, it's a sort of really dark green. So what I think the musicmaser was, this is long before you got like budget versions, like Squire and stuff like that. Gibson did sort of do it with their juniors, where they would give you a sort of like an SG that only had one pickup and no paint on it, and a very basic version but still the same quality. I think this is kind of what this is. So this is sort of a Mustang bass, but they've made it slightly cheaper by not putting the metal plate on, which I don't know how much that saved. It doesn't have a proprietary pickup. That's basically a 1978 Strat pickup. If you take the cover off, it's got 6 poles. Quite common for these to be modded, but to be honest, I think it sounds great with a single coil in it. It's kind of what it is. 2 saddle bridge, so you can have all the fun of like when you've got a Telecaster with 3 saddles where it's never going in tone. Rocking. It's got a thumb rest on it. I think it's the only bass I've got that's got a thumb rest, which does get in the way a little bit, but I'm leaving it on just to keep it original, because this is it's vintage now. I think it was vintage when I got it 20 years ago, but I got this just on a whim, really. I always liked the headstock. This is going back to, I had my Schecter P bass, which is the reason I don't have a Fender P bass, because the Schecters are a little better than Fenders. But my P bass, which I think is really cool now, has got like a Telecaster style headstock on it, and I wasn't that keen on that. Was one of the things that I'll buy it anyway. It's a pity about the Telecaster headstock. Now I think it's really cool, but back then, and this one, I always thought that headstock would be fantastic on a P bass, but it's not. It's on this wee stumpy thing. Interestingly, it's got strange tuners on it as well. They're kind of like normal full size tuners, apart from normally these bits stick away out here, so they're kind of compact. It's the full size back bit, and then they've got like a shorter stubby elephant ear bit. The neck on this is in very good condition. It looks almost new. I think one of the reasons the headstock went sort of orange, apparently it's nitro lacquer, because the poly finish they put on the body and on the back of the neck apparently ate the writing, ate the water slides, so they had to. That's why it's got like a nitro finish headstock, but the neck itself is in ridiculous condition. You would never know it was that old. It does have a few chips and bashes around about the outside, kind of coated in thick plastic. It's impossible to keep shiny. And the bridge has gone rusty. I'm pretty sure I cleaned it up at one point, but it just went rusty again. Maybe I should polish it and then lacquer it or something to try and keep it metally looking, but I kind of like it because it's old. Quite a simple thing. Volume and a tone. Pretty basic. Yeah, I actually found out some interesting things about this relatively recently off my pal Dava, who helps me do some stuff on the channel. So my pal G bought this in about 2000, maybe slightly earlier than that, maybe 1998, something like that, in Victor Morris in Glasgow. It was cheap, and it was a real Fender. It did buzz all over the place though. It was basically, that was why it was cheap, because it wasn't working, and he got it set up in Merchant City Music. shortly after that. It cost him 60 quid or 80 quid. And he put, I've still got them, I need to try and find them. I can't remember what they were called, but they were basically black rubber coated strings. I think they were meant for like fretless bass, to try and get it to stop buzzing. So he'd had those strings on it and he had it set up. And to be honest, it never really worked with those strings. I put normal strings on it years later, and now I'm a wee bit good at adjusting things. It's now playing fantastic. I've gigged with this. I sent somebody home at a gig one time because my Schecter, the battery ran out. I didn't know it took a battery, I just realised it wasn't working. So I did a gig on this. I've actually used it for a couple of gigs as well because it's quite soft and forgiving sounding. You can kind of play through a guitar amp and get away with it, which apparently was part of the... Someone's told me that before, that the reason the Mustang, the musicmaster has the wee pickup in it is so you can play it through a guitar amp. Maybe it doesn't sound quite as bad through a guitar amp as a normal bass does, but I'll be playing through a bass amp. Yeah, so I'm playing through Marshall. I keep saying MB. It's not just a B150, using the internal cabinet and this 4x10. There is, you probably the first time I've actually played this when I've actually got a mic that's able to pick it up. There is an issue on basses of this scale, which I think is a 30 inch, with the fat E string, 30 inch. It's a little bit thuddy, just as a short scale bass is, just to do with physics. Maybe putting fatter strings on it might sort that, but it's just... you just need to be a little bit more careful with it. I mean, I've been playing this for 20 odd years, so I'm kind of used to just, oh, it's a short scale, I don't notice it anymore, but it used to be a big issue. I remember it being a big issue with an awful lot of why people can't use short scale basses, because you need to be a little bit more careful with the E. Turn the tone all the way down. Got its own sound. Doesn't sound anything like the EBO, I don't think, even though I suppose technically it's a sort of competitor for the EBO, but I said it's the sort of cheaper version of a Mustang bass, but it does have, one of the reasons I've always kept it is because it's my, I do have a vintage Fender, you know, there is some kudos to that. Yeah, so as I said, when I found it, so I've been aware of this from my pal G. Bought it in 99, 2000, something like that, and in Victor Morris, and then a couple of years later he needed money for rent, or he lost his job I think, and he had to sell off these things, and Victor Morris have a deal thing where if you buy something within a year, or they used to, they would give you half the money back for it. So rather than give it to them, I didn't have any money at the time, but I got it, I ended up with it, I paid about half what he did and he got it really cheap. So I mean, really, for nowadays, I mean, it must be worth, I don't know, a good few hundred anyway, probably not $1,000. I didn't pay anything like that for it. So, got a bit of history with me, and I was talking to my pal Dava, which I've now cycled back to, 9 minutes, I've not started playing yet. He said, oh, his pal had one, and it just buzzed, and he hated it, and he sold it. I was like, you're alright, it's like, this one buzzed and it had an issue. I'm not really sure what it was, whether it was a truss rod or a high fret or something, an issue. And he's like, but yeah, I had the original case as well. I was like, you're alright, I've got the original case. He's like, yeah, it's quite mad. It's like I had a mad pastel drawing on the back of it with the case, and I was like, did it? Really? And then I got him to describe it for me, and then I got it out, and it's like, yeah, so it had, so this is I can now trace this back another 10 years to, so we're talking about this. This is, I've known where this bass has been since, I don't know, 1990, something like that, maybe a bit after that. Funny how these things come around. Yeah, so I will start playing some stuff on it. Put on the pin. I'm going to change the loop, the drum pedal to going into the bass amp, I think, rather than the guitar amp. I was thinking of that before I did it, and then forgot to do it before I did this video. So I think I might move it on, because now that's coming through the guitar amp, the drum kit. And my new trick of putting it through the bass amp and the guitar amp at the same time, so the bass is still there, but now it's coming through the guitar amp with a fuzz pedal as well. Yeah, so that was half of my Fender collection. The other half is this, which I've actually not had for that long, so I'm not going to talk about it for very long. This is my fotoflame. This is not an American one though. By most accounts, when you look them up, people say there's not really much difference between an American one and a Mexican one or a Japanese one. This is a Japanese one, so it's a kind of this is a 50s reissue. It's a fotoflame, which is not real wood. It's actually it's Fuji Gen and it's Fuji film combined together to just put like a photo of really fancy wood on top of a strat. The problem with that is the photo expands and contracts and the body doesn't, or the other way around, and they crack. So I was going to paint it when I got it, and it's like, I quite like the fact it's got some, you know, non-artificial aging in it. So this one has like it's a very 50s thing. It's a basswood body, which I don't think is very 50s. So it's got like a really, it's got a radius neck, really small, the Clussen style tuners. It says made in Japan on the back here. You can see the fotoflame, which does look. The thing which is mad about the fotoflame is it doesn't move. So in pretty much at any angle, normally with like a real maple top, you have to hold it at the right angle to see the 3D. But because this is just a photo, you don't have to be looking at it at a specific angle. It kind of looks the same from anyone. This one didn't have the original pickups in it, so I've had to upgrade them. Not sure I chose the right pickups for it. I just used the ones that I've been kicking about in my box for years. So it's got a DiMarzio DP, which is like a stacked humbucker. It's got a Fender Lace Sensor Gold in it, and this is a 1974 Strat pickup, I think. So, but I do quite like this. It does have some of the old Stratty problems. It's got an elastic band around here because of where they put the, you know, they totally copied the original design. So it's like there's like a harmonic problem when you hit an open string. I think it's a G. It sympathetically vibrates up here. So you put an elastic band on it. Also, I had to stuff, which is I just realised I haven't done. Normally stick rubber in the back to stop the trem springing, but I've not done it on this guitar. It must be. I'm thinking of the Ibanez Blazer. But, yeah. So this will be quite quiet, I suppose. But I think by choosing these pickups, I have avoided the sort of putting powerful pickups in, because the Blazer there has very powerful pickups in it, so it sounds a bit more like a normal guitar, whereas this, because it's really thin and weedy sounding, sounds really like a Strat, to what I think a Strat should sound like. Pickup. Four, try two. What I've just noticed there is the fret dots on the end here are halfway between the rosewood and the maple in the middle. On this bass, they're entirely in the maple, which I don't think is that usual. I think maybe it's just got a really thin rosewood fingerboard. Normally, I think they're normally entirely in the rosewood. I think if I've got a guitar that's happens to be sitting. Yeah, I think it's more normal for them to be entirely in the rosewood, whereas this is half and half, and that's entirely in the maple. Does that make any difference? No. No. It's a niggly thing, isn't it? That pedal. fuzz bass, because I can't get away from the fuzz bass pedal, I love it. Yeah, I turned the volume down on that pedal, so this is the super fuzz pedal with the volume not turned down, so it should be a bit louder. When I do turn the volume down, it gets spit hopefully. Pedal now. Yeah, so that was my entire Fender collection. I did manage to talk for 20 minutes. It was only going to be like a 5-minute video. I do like this guitar. It's really nice. I quite like the way it's got the chunks out it, which kind of means I can afford it. I've been really nasty about it, and I'm going to continue being really nasty about this and the Gibson, which set up there in my boring corner for doing pedal reviews and stuff like that. But they're quite different because this is quite, to me anyway, distinctly a Stratocaster. It doesn't have the tremolo arm because the one that's on it's snapped off in there. I've tried to get it out. Can't. I might eventually one day buy another block for it, but so I suppose it's not fully stock. It's got sort of sympathetic pickups in it. But nice guitar. Yeah, and okay, my Fender collection, it is Fender. It's Japanese though. It's not a proper US made Fender. Whereas you could argue that this is a proper US made Fender, but it's a sort of cheaper version. You can really see the green in it in the daylight for some reason today. But I'll never be getting rid of this. This is an awesome little thing. I used to think it weighed a ridiculous amount, but because I've got quite a lot of ridiculous guitars, things that made it kitchen worktops and stuff like that, it no longer seems super heavy. This is a very light guitar, but I mean, I've got guitars that are kind of, the Washburn wings kind of weigh that sort of amount and stuff. So, we're back with my Epiphone, not my Epiphone, my Squier collection, which is very, very similar to this particular, to the Fender collection, which again I didn't really mean. Looking at other collections I could do, it's like I can't touch like Washburn or Ari or anything like that, because that would just be like a 6-hour video. I don't have enough room in here to have them all up at the same time. So there's other companies that I might have a wee look at and see what I've got. A collection being more than one of. Yamaha, maybe 3 or 4 Yamahas. If you include the acoustics, I'll probably get 6. That doesn't work as well. Anyhow, rock on, have a great weekend, and I'll, depending on when I put this up, I'll see you on Sunday. Whether it's this Sunday or next Sunday, I don't know, it depends when. I'm kind of getting a wee backlog of videos up just now. I've totally fallen out with that yellow bass I've been working on. I'm just basically doing this to keep my mind away from it. I spent hours at it yesterday trying to put that bass every single step of the way. It's just been difficult. And now I've got the active circuit in, and for some reason the bass knob isn't working. So it's just like, I'm going to end up hating that bass. Just I think maybe if I leave it, if I just forget about it for a few days, I'll maybe come back at it fresh. Because a lot of these things is sometimes you just, if you spend too long trying to fix something, it ends up hindering you. So you better just forget about it for a couple of days and come back, and then maybe something really obvious, and I'll fix it in 2 minutes, and I'll be like, why did I never think of that before? And the reason I never thought of that before is because I was too worked up and enraged previously. So, does seem very. It's a nice Strat. It's one of the nicest Strats I've ever played. Basically, not good, but it does have these chips out it. But I'm quite happy to live with that. I've almost worn these strings out as well. I need to get elixiered up. I do have a couple of sets of elixirs sitting there. They're just waiting for guitars to get them put on. This one and the Blazer as well, which I might like better than this. It's a slightly different thing though. It's got the maple neck, which I prefer, but that doesn't really make any difference. But it's got the high power output pickups. This has got the really low output pickups, so I've kind of got I've justified it to myself, keeping 2 Strats that are basically just Strats, even though technically that's not a Strat. It's a Blazer. So, rock on.